90% of guitar students quit within the first year. I want you to think about that. Out of the 10% remaining, how many truly ever feel free on their instrument? It doesn't have to be that way. I'm going to give you 5 concrete ways that you can put into action immediately in order to break out of that rut and bridge the gap. If you can retain the mind of a beginner, you'll never get stuck again. Or as my maestro who taught me music when I was a kid said, and he did prefer to be called the maestro, retreat only in order to advance. Here's how to do it. When you first started playing guitar, you didn't know anything, and because you didn't know anything, you had to pay a lot of attention to your hands. As you were doing that, you were beginning to form a link between sight and sound. That's great because of course you need to do that in order to start making progress. But as you got through those phases, you began to form habits. Well, a habit is just a process of memorization. You may have gotten comfortable enough that you didn't need to look down at your hands anymore, or when you did, you saw your fingers playing the exact same licks over and over again, and you began to feel stuck. So to get out of that, step 1, I want you to go get a mirror. It's really good if you can get one of those wardrobe mirrors that just can hang on your door and practice guitar in front of that. I want you seeing the mirror image of your hands if you look forward, and if you look down, of course, you'll see your hands on the fingerboard. You're going to watch your hands again the same way that you had to by necessity when you were a very rank beginner. But this time, you're going to do that while developing new material. Don't worry, you're not going to get stuck in the new material. The new material is in order to form new habits that allow you to break out of the standard patterns that you've been rehashing by rote. In order to begin developing that new material, we move on to step 2. Step 2, you're going to limit yourself to a 3 or 4 fret span somewhere in the fingerboard that you know inside out. My first guitar lesson, I learned the melody to Jingle Bells, and it was only in the first 3 frets on the top 2 strings. Get rid of the overwhelm and the distractions. So pick the region that you want to stick to. I'm going to pick from the 4th fret to the 7th fret in the key of E. And it'll probably be the region that you already feel stuck in, like you can play inside out, but you're rehashing a bunch of cliches, and you don't feel like you can come up with anything new, and you're stuck in a bunch of patterns that you're bored with. But you're going to get out of that with step 3. What if your string broke, or went so violently out of tune that you couldn't use it? I'm going to choose the out of tune approach. You know, I was just practicing my jazz standards, really getting into my music. You can't use the string. So what are you going to do in that region now that that string is useless? You're going to discover that you have to skip over it, and in the process, you'll discover intervals you may not have played before. You'll discover that you got to bend into notes on a different string. Or get around the bad string somehow. So in step 4, while you're still looking at the mirror image, paying attention to your hands and forming new habits, you go in the region that you've established with the string that's rendered useless, and you start looking for the triads of all of the chords that you're going to be playing over. If I was playing over something pretty in the key of E like I was, I'd stick to the plan and go, well, I can't use anything on the 2nd string. If I play that E triad there, so I can't do that, but I can do this. And for A, I can go, but I can't get. So to cross over, I could go to the open E string up top, or I could go down to the 5th string below. For a B, I couldn't get, but I could get. For C sharp minor, I could go. And then if I wanted to keep going up, I'd have to go to the high E string open. And you do this slowly and conscientiously, and it's practice. It's not performance. It's purely practice to form new habits, see the fingerboard in new ways. You started within the box, but now you're deliberately getting out of it and looking for escape routes. and on and on. Which leads into step 5. You put it to music. You pick a chord progression or a tune that you're working on that you want to play a solo over, and you just take the first few bars. That's enough to get started with the idea. And then using the triads that you've mapped out, which form the strong chord tones that you can lead into and out of and in between, you start seeing what you can come up with. It's not a free-form improvisation. You can labor over it. You can compose something note by note, one step at a time if you'd like. But you see what you can come up with, watching your hands in the mirror image, with that string that's off limits that you have to work around, and you start working on playing something that sounds good anyhow over the piece of music that you're working on. It's okay if it's not brilliant. Nothing I played there really was. You wouldn't live there and play a proper solo that way, but you're forcing yourself to confront the limitation and the barrier that you've created and getting out of the box, ironically, by creating one. Or like if I was playing over One Rainy Wish, the Hendrix thing, I desperately want to go do the double stop moves. But I couldn't, so what could I do? Well, I could combine it with the open. So I hope that helps you to look at some old things in a new way and inspires you to see what you can come up with on your own. Thank you as always for watching. I'll see you again tomorrow. We are doing daily videos on this channel for a while longer. And if you're enjoying this and getting something valuable out of it, let me know in the comments. Or if you think I totally suck and should crawl back in my mother's womb until I'm ready for the big time, the algorithm doesn't care. It just wants to see engagement. So we'll keep at this together, and I'll look forward to seeing you again soon.